So there are 3 basic stages of adrenal dysfunction or adrenal fatigue, whatever you want to call it. Stage 1, I call it the superhero stage. Cortisol is high quite a bit. Often you still are sleeping, but maybe not in a repair level. It's like the brain is working, but you're also asleep because you're tired, but you're waking up, you're running on left sleep, you're getting everything done, right? You don't really have any long-term signs of it yet. If anything, you feel freaking fantastic because cortisol feels good when it's working, right? What I find stage 2 is what I call it the roller coaster stage. This is where things start to change. And this is where I'll see, and a lot of this is dependent upon other environmental factors, genetics, what your lifestyle is like. I'll start to see blood sugar changes. I'll start to see hormone changes. So a lot of heavy menstrual cycles, drops in testosterone, sex, libido. I mean, honestly, if you're running for a bear, are you going to stop and have sex? No, you're not. It makes sense, right?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Sleep Like a Boss podcast, where we're going to talk all about stress and adrenal fatigue. And this is such an important topic. And I'm so excited to have Dr. Trishia Pingel with me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Let's do this.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you because you are a naturopathic physician and you have been doing work with people on their adrenal health for 15 years. And you have expertise in the subject, and I'm so excited because you really help people going from wired and tired to basically happy and connected and calm, right? Like, and don't we all just want that? Don't we just want to feel like that?
We all just want to go through our lives happy and joyous. And I think, why are we here if we can't enjoy every moment, the good and the bad? I mean, things happen. And so being able to reframe things and just find the best in things, there's no harm in that, and sleep well.
Oh, absolutely. And to me, right, to me, that's the foundation, right? And we need to recharge the batteries. We need to heal the body. And if we're not sleeping, we're not doing that. And I had burnout and adrenal fatigue, like not just once in my life. And I wasn't sleeping when that was happening. And I didn't understand it because I was like, how can you be like literally I was on the couch, like not doing anything anymore. But I was like, how the heck? Like, how can this be, right? How can you not, your body's screaming for rest and it's not sleeping, and it literally freaked me out. And then I went to the doctor and they said, you have too much stress.
And you were
not
like,
anymore, because I'm not working anymore. I'm not taking care of my child anymore because my husband's stepping in. I'm actually sick from work because I'm unable to. But yes, I've had a lot of stress. And I think, but it was funny. I had stress, and I know you talk about this. I had tons going on. I had a small child. He has special needs. I had a mega important job. I was working way too hard. I was going to the gym way too hard. There was lots of that. But other than that, I felt fine. I used to be my colleagues used to call me the Energizer Bunny.
yes.
And then that battery kind of didn't recharge.
Well, I think a lot of people are like that. And I think a lot of people, I call it the superhuman stage. We're doing so much and we're doing it with so much precision, and we've got this and that, and we're going on. We're like, wow, I'm amazing. Look what I can do. I can run off 5 hours of sleep, and I can raise a kid, and I can run a business, and I can do this. And we're so busy doing that. We're almost in like a cortisol fog. We're in this fake reality. And then all of a sudden, our body just can't keep up, and we don't understand where it came from. And my mission is to get out there and catch some of us in that phase. Because like you, I remember I was in my 3rd year of medical school, going to school 10 hours a day, doing shifts after school. And I decided, hey, this would be a great time to get pregnant and have a baby, right? And so I have this baby. I'm going into my 4th year. I have an infant at home. My husband was kind enough to stay home and take care of the infant, but he needed to sleep too. So I would come home and I'd wake up at night, take care of the baby, get back up, go to school, right? Amongst all of this, my mom's diagnosed with cancer, right? You have all the financial stuff when you're trying to go through school, pay off loans, open a practice, all these things. And in the moment, I don't think I really comprehended how much I was really doing. I just did it. Mm-hmm. And I did it well. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until, fast forward 2, 3 years later when I was opening a practice and I'm like, man, I just am not sleeping. Like, what is going on? I wake up and I just feel like I've been up thinking about everything. I mean, I don't know about you, but I actually dreamt that I had tests the next day for a good 3 to 4 years after med school. And I
yeah.
did it. And I didn't go to school anymore. Like,
Yeah.
what was I thinking about? And you try taking all these things, and I know your listeners probably can relate to this. You try taking every natural thing, and you try taking prescriptions, and you try taking all these things. And even if you do sleep, you don't wake up and felt like you did. You wake up and you're still exhausted. So I think any, driven person has gone through this cycle, and you get caught up in it and you don't realize it's happening, and then you hit the ground and it's like, uh-oh, right? If only the physicians, when we went to the physicians and said, man, I'm tired, I'm not sleeping well, really made us self-reflect and really made us look at what we were doing and how gave us skill sets to be able to reframe it. We could have avoided, both of us probably could have avoided that burnout in the end, right?
Yeah.
So here we are educating all of you out there. Let's start paying attention to what we're doing, because it's great to be amazing, but at the same time, it's also really great to be self-reflective and to remember that we have to heal our souls, and we heal while we sleep. So if you're not sleeping, you're not healing. And if you're not healing, you can only do so much. You can only be so productive. It will come back to bite you in the butt, right?
It will. And what is going on? Like, why do we run like the Energizer Bunny and then we hit the wall and we seem to not be able, like, we're literally lying on our back like the Energizer Bunny and we're going like this, but nothing's like, we can't, nothing's happening.
Yeah, I like to use this as an example of a bear in the woods. So, our bodies were built to manage stress. They just were, but they were built to manage stress via a hormone called cortisol, where it's released and then it relaxes. Okay. And when cortisol is released, we have two different nervous systems. We have one called the sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight, that woohoo, I'm on a roll. And then we've got the parasympathetic nervous system, which is where we're chill. We're repairing, we're digesting our food, we're having sex, we're reproducing, all the fun things in life are all over there. So when we're in the woods, let's say you're going for a hike and you see a bear, you see one bear, you figure out how to run from it. Think about what happens. Your blood pressure goes up, you focus in on that bear, you start running. You don't remember what you ran by. You don't know if there were purple flowers or pink flowers, or if you ran by a lake. You don't even really know where you're going. You're just running, right? Ideally, you get away from the bear and you go about your day, and it's fine and we're good. And that's how we were built. But nowadays, we've got things like cell phones, email, constant demand, social media, expectations from everyone that things need to be now, now, now. So you're running from this bear, and the minute you get away from one, there's another one.
Yeah.
So you run again, and then you run again, and then you run again, and then you run again. And then you're wondering, gosh, I just seem to have bear after bear. I'm exhausted. I'm going to take a nap. So you curl up by a tree, you're like, oh, it's quiet. And all of a sudden your brain goes, but wait a minute, there was a bear before. I think there's going to be another bear. Did you know where the bear came from last time? Let me tell you, you should probably think about it. And you wake up, every little rustle. Wait, was that the bear? You start anticipating the bear. The body actually adapts to the situation you're in. Social media is a great example of this. How many times, realistically out there, guys, how many times do you pick up your phone every single day when there's nothing on it? And you're like, oh, did I miss the text? Did I miss something? That's you asleep in the woods and your brain saying, wait, there was a bear. There was a bear here yesterday. So we start to have these impacts in how we rest, and we spend 80% or more in the sympathetic running from a bear and 20% or less in parasympathetic. And it's supposed to be completely the opposite. And I don't know about you, but I've seen this get significantly worse since the pandemic. Far more anxiety, far more worry, far more triggers, setting things off, way more bears. Now we're stimulated by so much more than we ever have before. And we wonder why we have brain fog. And we think we're not sleeping and we have brain fog because we're understimulated, when it's quite the opposite. We're way overstimulated and our body is just wired all the time and it cannot get calm. And we really need to start to look at, when we're treating really any disease out there, because they're all impacted by stress, they're all impacted by cortisol, every single one. We need to start looking at, how do we spend more time in the resting phase, in the parasympathetic nervous system? How do we sit over there for a while and take more naps in the woods and think the bear is cute and just let him run off on his own? Like, why do we have to react to every single bear? And if we can learn how to control that reaction to those bears, we can actually change our health completely.
I so agree with you, and you explained this so well. Yes, I think cortisol is totally underestimated as like our disease, like one of the major triggers for disease and in so many things. I totally agree. And if we're not sleeping, guys, yes, cortisol is part of the equation. The question is, where's it coming from? Is your gut the issue? Is there an adrenal? Are we releasing, is your circadian rhythm mixed up? Are you releasing the wrong hormones at the right time? And especially, I think what you were saying is so important. Sometimes it is that, and can we call it like anticipatory anxiety? I don't even know how to phrase that, but it's this 3 a.m. And I remember that when I was still in my corporate job and I ran this massive project and I was still sleeping okay at that time. That was like before the burnout. It was crunch time in the project. There was a bajillion people involved, a bajillion things to do. And I woke up at 3 a.m, I'd have the to-do list in my brain, like ding, right there. And yes, it was a stressful time. And then sometimes that happens, but we need that to go away. So when the project was done, I should have, a few weeks later, found that balance, and my body should have said, the bear is not there anymore. You did well. The project's live. The world is happy. You can rest. And then you can't.
Yeah. I mean, our bodies adapt. That's what makes them so freaking amazing.
Yeah.
They adapt to everything. It is so cool. Like, that's one of the most fascinating things to me when I was learning just physiology and biochemistry. I was like, wow, you mean I can change the way I utilize blood sugar if I change my stress response? That's cool. You mean I can change what nutrients I absorb or don't absorb based on how I react to a situation? That's amazing, because it puts the power back in you to control your health. You don't have to require all these medications, and oftentimes not a ton of supplements, or the supplements are just supplement temporarily while you figure that out. But we have this amazing ability to completely control our biochemistry. And I think we're taught that we don't. We have no idea what our body needs, and we need to go to the doctor, and the doctor needs to tell us what medication to take. And, I look at the issues that I have with sleep. What really kind of, I don't know, lights me up a little bit is that people are being given these drugs that are highly addictive, that change the biochemistry of their body. And the way I look at, like if we use benzodiazepines, for example, like a Xanax, right? Oh, take Xanax for sleep. That's literally like you're in the middle running for a bear and someone walks up behind you with a huge mallet and whacks you over the back of the head and you fall to the ground and you, quote, are out, but you're still thinking, oh my God, there's a bear. Oh my God, there's a bear. I can't run. Oh my God. Why? I got knocked out. What's going to happen? Oh, no. Your brain is still on cortisol. It doesn't do anything for the cortisol response at all. And then you need a bigger mallet the next time, because your body starts to say, there's still a bear, man. Someone's going to come along with a mallet. I'm going to fight
wait
this.
for the mallet.
I mean, just the word fight or flight tells so much about what cortisol does. If you're going to fight your body all the time and continue to have it wrestle and fight its natural instinct, it's going to win. I always say cortisol will always win. I don't care what you throw at it, because cortisol was created to save our lives. That's its sole purpose, to keep us away from the bear. So you can keep throwing bears at it, but you can't fight it. At some point, you have to teach the body that it doesn't need to run from that stressor. Sometimes, like you're saying, we have big projects. Yeah, they're stressful, but at the same time, you can set boundaries around that, right?
I agree.
You can take it's a learned skill, but you can learn how to not make the bear so scary, right? So you can still sleep, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to bed going, oh, what's that to-do list? Which, by the way, I think is just ingrained in women. I think we just have that to-do list that just
Yeah.
all day long.
Yeah.
And trying to fight that can be challenging. But these pharmaceuticals that are being handed over to try to help sleep are actually making the whole situation worse. And it's harder and harder to repair the longer you're in that mallet cycle. And we need to start looking at this as to why are we waking at 2 a.m.? What is the bear? Why are we reacting to the bear in that way? And what can we do lifestyle wise to avoid that reaction? And what's crazy is then you'll wake up rested and you'll be able to tackle that to-do list in half the time because you're focused. You know where you're going, right? You haven't been running all night from a bear trying to figure out what path you took, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And you're not already exhausted from running from that bear all the time, right?
Yeah.
And if we talk about this whole cortisol issue, and then we bring that, how can we link that to adrenal fatigue? And what is adrenal fatigue? Because there are so many practitioners out there talking about different things. Can you just like maybe just frame the physiology of the whole thing?
I'd love to. Yeah, so the adrenals sit on top of our kidneys and they release more than cortisol, guys. They release all sorts of fun stuff, hormones and all sorts. We won't get into all that, but their job is to react, okay? And by their reaction, it triggers further reactions. So that's a very simple way to say that. When it comes to the term adrenal fatigue, I think it's misused a lot. I think it's misunderstood. I think when we hear the word adrenal and fatigue, we think the adrenals are burned. They're not making cortisol anymore. Nothing's working. And a lot of the conventional side looks at it as disease, like Addison's disease, like our body is no longer capable of producing cortisol. I don't find that. I actually find that very rarely. After doing this for 15 years, I find people in multiple levels of adrenal dysfunction, meaning that the cortisol is firing in an irregular rhythm. So for example, instead of being highest 30 minutes after you wake up, it's highest at 3 a.m. and lowest when you wake up. So this is a rhythm. And what's cool about it is because it's a rhythm, you can adapt to that rhythm. So there are 3 basic stages of adrenal dysfunction or adrenal fatigue, whatever you want to call it. Stage 1, I call it the superhero stage. Cortisol is high quite a bit. Often you still are sleeping, but maybe not in a repair level. It's like the brain is working, but you're also asleep because you're tired, but you're waking up, you're running on left sleep, you're getting everything done, right? You don't really have any long-term signs of it yet. If anything, you feel freaking fantastic because cortisol feels good when it's working, right? What I find stage 2 is what I call it the roller coaster stage. This is where things start to change. And this is where I'll see, and a lot of this is dependent upon other environmental factors, genetics, what your lifestyle is like. I'll start to see blood sugar changes. I'll start to see hormone changes. So a lot of heavy menstrual cycles, drops in testosterone, sex, libido. I mean, honestly, if you're running for a bear, are you going to stop and have sex? No, you're not. It makes sense, right? I see a lot of gut issues, tons of gut issues at this time. Now, you had mentioned earlier, did the gut cause the stress? Did the stress cause the gut? Did the chicken cause the egg? The bottom line is when we're running from a bear, we're not digesting our food. Yeah. When we're not digesting our food, we're becoming nutrient depleted. When we're becoming nutrient depleted, our thyroids don't work. Our hormones don't work. Nothing works. We run off minerals and vitamins. We run off inputs and outputs. I see a ton of constipation. I mean, how many out there are dealing with constipation? How many people don't go to the bathroom every day? A large majority, because you don't have time to stop and go to the bathroom when you're running from a bear. You just don't. And if you always look at it like that and you think of your symptoms like, gosh, I wouldn't be able to do that if I was running from a bear, it's probably stage 2 adrenal fatigue. Right? Stage 3 is really where it's not necessarily that the cortisol is not producing, but there's really not enough energy for it to get high enough to give you the energy spikes that you need. And some of the biggest mistakes I see during this time, if I'm honest, is that people start giving a lot of stimulants. They start giving a lot of supplemental cortisone and things like that. You have to be really careful because if the body is burnt out because it's been running too much, you don't need to give it more stimulation. You need to give it rest and rebuild the gut health and the thyroid health and the hormone health. And that's when you really need to say, uh-oh, we need to back up a lot and really reevaluate how we got here and realize that it takes years sometimes to get to that stage. It's going to take a while to get back. And that's okay. Like, have some gratitude and some grace for that. It's okay. Like, we go through, I'll try to make it 1 minute or so, but I lost my mom to cancer. And it was a horrible process to watch as a daughter. It was a horrible process to watch someone go from being so vibrant to someone being so feeble and unable to care for themselves, and then watch them pass. And one of the things that taught me more than anything, though, is that we go through these things in life and they're actually a blessing and they're a lesson and they grow us as a person. So something that her death did for me is it got me out in the world trying to catch people earlier in this stage to help them avoid getting cancer in the first place, to help them avoid losing sight of the beauty in every single day. And by the time we get to stage 3, we've kind of, we're pretty down on ourselves, right? Things suck, and we're on the couch and we can't do what we want to do. And it's so easy to get like stuck into that, oh, woe is me, this is horrible, nothing will ever fix that, who has the magic pill? When what we really need to look at is, okay, what is the world trying to teach us here? I think maybe we did this a little too hard and we need to have a little bit of grace for ourselves, because beating ourselves up is just going to make this worse, right? And finding that opportunity to grow in that moment. So I do encourage any of you out there listening that are in these stages and feeling the effects of these to just take a moment. It's okay. Like, we all go through this. I don't know many powerful people that don't, many amazing people that don't. Now it's a time to say, okay, it's time to take action. It's time for me to actually nourish my body and my soul and not let so many of these other things impact me. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. And how, well, because I know what I did when I was in that, because I was in that stage 3. I ran in stage 1 for actually, I would say, for over a decade. And I was fine because it was just cortisol was being pumped and it was great. And then eventually, and then that stage 2 was very short, actually, and stage 3 came very quickly. But what would be a thing, regardless of, maybe even almost regardless of where people are? Like, what besides maybe sleep issues or like this constant fatigue or not recovering after exercise? What are things where you would say red flag, like start watching out?
In women, watch your hormones. I mean, if your hormones are fluctuating, you're not having regular cycles, they're really painful, you're having ovarian cysts, you're having, estrogen dominant type symptoms. I always say, okay, adrenals are involved, right? We're storing hormone. Why are we storing? Anytime we run from a bear, we store things because we don't have time to deal with it. If you're seeing changes in your blood sugar, pre-diabetes, insulin changes, blood sugar changes, on a more vanity level, bags under the eyes, hair falling out, nails not as strong, lack of interest in sex. To be honest, lack of interest in you, right? Giving to
like
everybody else, not giving to you. I remember I didn't talk to my best friend for 9 months after my mom died. I just didn't want to. And that's a problem. I'm a very outgoing person. So when I'm not out there reaching out to people and asking for help, that's concerning for me. The other thing is going to your doctor with anything. Hypothyroidism, by the way, another big one, huge. Thyroid issues, huge. Anything in the hormone arena, there's 4 aspects of the hormones, right? You've got your blood sugars, you've got your adrenal, your thyroid, and your sex hormones. So whenever you see changes in there, pretty much guarantee there's a problem, along with gut, sleep changes, mood changes, self-worth type changes. What was I gonna say? Well, I'll come back to it. It'll come back to me after that. But that's
so
when
you go to the
going to your
doctor.
doctor. If you go to the doctor, and you're like, hey, I'm having this issue. And they're like, yeah, it's just stress. Oh, are you going through a lot? Oh yeah, that's explainable. Oh yeah, it's just because you're going through perimenopause. Oh, and they automatically label you before they've even looked at anything. I mean, I'm 47, almost 48. And if I went to the doctor right now and said, gosh, I'm feeling a little bit tired and a little depressed and my hair is getting thinner, they'd be like, oh yeah, you're just going through perimenopause. I guarantee you they wouldn't even check my hormones to tell me that. And that's a red flag. If you're just being thrown a diagnosis and being dismissed and not being heard, seek someone else to start looking at your adrenals, because it's really, really, really important. And I think especially in the sleep arena, we get very caught up with just let me sleep, when what we need to look at is why am I not sleeping? So people like you help heal people from the original cause. And I think you have to start diving into that, because when you start looking for those quick fixes and you feel like you can't find one, there's usually a sign that the adrenals are overriding everything you're doing. And you're probably doing more than you need to do, or like taking on too much when you could actually take on less and get more response.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, and I think often this is something, and the first time I came across that was like, I had the exact same thing. Doctor looked at my blood work. You're like, you're the pinnacle of health. It's just stress. There's trauma involved. I agree. This all is part of the story. But then I saw somebody, and it was a naturopath at the time, and she's like, yeah, no, this is an adrenal. Like, can we do some more testing? And can we dive into this? I'm like, oh, I'd actually never heard of that. Interesting. Like, it all. And yeah, we need to support you a little because you're actually totally depleted and burned out, and we just need to get the body back, right? And I think the one thing that we often underestimate, and I don't know how, because you talk about that analogy with the bear so greatly, like it's just so, it makes so much sense, but it's really like, ladies, take a minute, maybe even after this episode, walk through that wood and see what the bears are.
Yeah. You know what a great exercise is? It's kind of fun. So pick a time a day. I try to pick about 5:30, 6 o'clock. Put your cell phone in a drawer and go back to your family. And how many times do you think I need to go check my cell phone? Like start counting. How often do you think about that cell phone? It usually takes a couple days and then you forget. And when you forget, it's amazing. This energy surge you get is unreal. And I think if we just start looking at that and doing these little challenges on ourselves, you may see some pretty amazing advancements just from that. And we were talking about healing the body. And I think an important point, if you want to chat about it, is the difference between external and internal stress, because they're both involved. And external stress is easy. It's your job, it's your money, it's, people who are demanding on you all the time. And can we change that? Probably not. I couldn't change that my mom was going to die of cancer. I couldn't change that I'm someone who wanted to be with her till the end and watch it. I wasn't going to walk away from that, right? That was a stress I chose to take on, right? Can we change that? No. Can we change the way we look at external stress? Yes. Can we change the way it inputs into our body or the boundaries we put up for it? Yes. Somebody else's problem is not my problem, right? And I think one of the first things you can do with external stress is say, do I have any control over this situation? When I realized with my mom that I had no control over whether or not she was going to die, but what I did have control over was the quality of her life in the end and the moments that we had together, I removed myself from other things and just took those moments as a daughter. I backed away from being a doctor and I sat next to her in bed and I snuggled her and I held her and I talked about funny things and we watched HGTV all day long. And it was great. I learned all sorts of remodeling tips and this and that. I was like, this is great. But, instead of sitting there going, oh my God, what am I going to do? What else can we do? Oh my God, I thought, you know what? I don't have any control over this. And so I'm not going to put that stress on her, right? But here's what happens when you let that external stress impact you, it develops internal stress. So we talked earlier about when you're running from a bear, you don't digest your food. So let's say that you're running from a bear and now you're not digesting selenium. You're just eliminating it. Well, now the selenium can't go to the thyroid and convert T4 into T3. So now you're starting to develop a slow thyroid and that's stressful. The body's like, whoa, wait a minute. I need thyroid and I can't get it. That's fighting against the body, right? So let's say that you're not sleeping well and your cells don't have time to repair, your immune system can't regenerate, and now you're getting sick all the time. Well, that's stressful on the body, right? So we get into these hamster wheels of stress. So when we're rebuilding, when you're saying, how do we recover from adrenal fatigue? What do we do? One, we start with setting boundaries to external stress. And then we have to go through and we have to do extensive testing on what happened as a result internally that now we have to support. Do we need to replenish selenium? Do we need to replenish vitamin C, B vitamins? Do we need to repair the gut? Do we need to repair the sleep-wake cycle? We have to find those things because you can meditate all you want to get rid of the external stress and it'll work, right? For external, but you have to repair the internal. So I think it's important for people to understand that this is actually a very strategic plan. It's a lot of people say to me, oh, great, Dr. Pingel. Yeah, you just want me to meditate and calm down or like rechange my mindset and I'll fix everything. No, there's a whole process to it. But that's a very, very important part that we're having a harder and harder time grasping because we're constantly stimulated with this thumb that scrolls constantly. Every time we scroll, dopamine, cortisol, dopamine, cortisol, dopamine, cortisol. We're training ourselves to react to every single bear. And so that's where we start. You start by saying, okay, what are my external stressors? What can I do? And then you go in and you look at 4 areas. Nutrition, right? What do I need to replete so that my body can actually do what it's meant to do? What exercises can I do that not only strengthen the body, but put it into a parasympathetic state? Because you can go to Orange Theory all day long and you can go to CrossFit and you can lift all sorts of weights. But if you're stressed out while you do it or you're thinking about what's happening, you're actually not going to get that far. And I see this all the time in weight loss. Women are like, I can't lose any weight. I work out every day. I go to the gym an hour a day. I can't figure it out. But the whole time they're there, they're thinking, why aren't I losing weight? Why aren't I losing weight? Why aren't I losing weight? What am I going to do? And they're looking at themselves and evaluating themselves. They're not breathing. They're not in a calm state. Being in a calm state when you exercise is critical. Supplementation, as we talked about, and then really that mindset piece takes years. I mean, people who are trained in mindset, I mean, they're working for 10, 20 years to become experts in it. I mean, it's constant, and we're constantly being stimulated. So we constantly have to adapt to that. But if you look at those 4 stages and you really hone in on that, you can 100% reduce your chance of disease, reverse disease. I've seen blood pressure completely resolve, cholesterol go back to normal. I've seen diabetes reverse. I've reversed Hashimoto's disease, thyroid disease, IBS. I have a woman that has been constipated on meds for years and now doesn't need them anymore. I mean, I look at people with mood disorders even, or depression, anxiety, obviously sleep issues. You're the expert here. I've seen them all reverse and go back to normal by just addressing the adrenals and the damage that came from that. So it is really powerful. I hope your audience can understand how much power they have in this. It's really incredible.
It is. Thank you so much for saying that, because I think it's really this, and I think maybe also with that whole cortisol dopamine cycle, we've also kind of lost our intuition a little sometimes, I find. And like, that was my thing too. I was like, I don't trust my gut. Like I go by, and I go by data, I go by numbers. I'm a very logical person. And then, but I was like, oh, you know what? But there's actually testing, and I can look at, there are numbers and there is data, and I can look at what's wrong. And yes, I think that way I can follow a plan. And yes, there is a strategy. And if you do it, it works. And you feel great, and that gives you the motivation and the energy to go into that direction and to kind of hone in on those habits, right? Because in the end, that's what it is. We're going to form new habits, and we're going to kind of learn and feel what's good and what's not good. And we just kind of have to change. And then, yeah, Instagram's not going away. Like, is that still the thing for me? Yeah. Do I have to watch that? I do. And and I love that, putting the phone away at night. The other thing I do on the weekends is I delete the app.
Yeah.
Like you literally just go on your thing there on the screen, you press the X, it's gone when you come back in on Monday, because I also use it for work. Yeah. You load it back up, it's right there. But all weekend, in those weekends where I do that, I'm the most relaxed, I'm the happiest person. The weekends where I don't do it and I'm on there, all like not like hours, but like, oh, it's been an hour and a half, let's quickly check something. Oh, 3 hours later, let's quickly check. I just don't feel well.
No. And I think, on the weekends, I really focus on just being with my family. I try not to pick up my phone at all. In fact, it drives me crazy when my sons go somewhere because I have to monitor the phone to see if they're texting me and whatever. I think it's a really valuable thing. And I think another thing that a lot of people lose, in this, we get stuck in it. We lose our intuition, we lose our gut, and we lose that connection with who we really are. Yeah. Because we're in a world of people pleasing, and let's be like them, and let's be like them. And why can't we be like that? And we're always setting these goals based on everyone else. And I'm sure social media plays a huge role in that. And I think one of the things that's really important is to reconnect what really truly makes you authentically you. And when I was younger, I was a dancer, right? I used to dance all the time, and that's how I released stress. And then as I became an adult and went to med school and had kids and started working, I just stopped going to dance class. You know, I didn't have time. I was too busy. I had other things to do. And after my mom had passed, it was really hard on me. She was my best friend. She ran my practice with me. It was a huge hit. And I was so low emotionally, so disconnected from my body due to just burnout and adrenal fatigue that I woke, I mean, I have to say dance resaved my life, because I'd wake up some days and thought, why should I even go anywhere? Like, what's the purpose? It was a severe depression. And I woke up one day and I don't know what inspired me, but something came to me and said, why don't you just start dancing again?
Mm-hmm.
And I went to dance class and I was awful. And it was with a bunch of 14-year-olds. And and it was the advanced hip hop class. And because I was like, I can do this, right? So I walk in and I couldn't remember choreo because I had lost the ability to notice the little things in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I had lost the ability to pick up the beauty in my environment. I had lost that connection with my intuition and my connection to the world. It was gone. So when someone says, well, move your arm here, move your leg there, I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember feeling so devastated, but yet so excited to dance again. And I just started going. I started going every week. And this was about 7 years ago. And I've been dancing hip hop since then, every single week. I do 3 classes a week now. I dance with the teenagers. I dance with the adults. I dance all over social media because I figured if I'm going to take time to get onto this app that ruins my adrenals, I'm going to have fun while I'm out there and make other people smile and dance and do whatever. But it's funny because when I look at that, I talk to people whenever I come across them and say, what do you do for you? What do you do that used to give you joy when you were a kid? Have you reconnected that? Because I'll tell you, my body tells me weeks before I get sick that I'm going to get sick. My body now, like I can tell, I'll bloat up and I'm like, uh-oh, I'm getting too stressed. Chill out. Like I listen to my body so well now. And that's been an amazing skill to get back. And it's crazy. I can pick up choreo. I know where to put my hands now. I'm doing these classes and trying new things. And I'm almost 50 years old, and I think a lot of people give up on going back to what they enjoy to do. And I'd like to encourage you not to, because that does help reconnect you to what you love and your passion. So use that right side of your brain. What do you do? Do you get creative?
You know what? It's so funny that you were just saying that. Yes, the one thing that I was so scared about when I came out of these burnouts was to overdo it.
Yeah.
I was really scared. And then people are always like, you can, and then you hear this, don't do too much cardio, don't do high intensity. And I did when I was in my burnout, I did yoga, which I still sometimes do and I love it, but it's not it's exactly that thing. It's a tool in my toolbox, but it's not the thing that brings me joy. It makes me feel better, but it's not that. And what brings me joy is the one thing where everybody said stay away from it, and it's spinning classes. And I was so scared, and I was like, I know I can't. I was like, I physically know I cannot do 45 minutes of a spinning class anymore, or maybe not at that point. I was like, no. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like in that second burnout. And then the pandemic hit, and all the studios closed, and they started renting out bikes. And I was like, I haven't been on a bike in years because I had the other burnout a few years before, and I'm just too scared. I was like, you know what? I'm going to rent one of these bikes. And they brought it to your home, and I was on the Peloton app, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try. And if it's 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes. That's all I can do. But at least I'm not sitting in a 45-minute class with 25 other people where after 10 minutes, I'm so embarrassed to have to get off that bike because that would have felt embarrassing to me, right? So I did it. And it took like 2-3 times to do get to 20 minutes. And that was enough for a while. That was it.
It's great.
And I was the happiest person on that bike. I was like, this is exactly what I needed. That moving to music, that sweating like insane, but not for 45 minutes. My body wasn't there, right? But it's so really this thing, listen to, and that's what I think what we lose with that intuition. And then we see so much information on social media that's going in different ways, and you have no clue what to do. Try and sit still and dig into that, and dig into this. What puts that smile on your face? Like I often say, like one of the first things that my clients do one thing a day that brings you joy. That at night when you can't fall asleep, that is what you think about. Your day was shitty, but that was that one thing. And that calms your system. And it's so hard for people to do because often it's something for others. No, 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 no. This is
Um,
not what brings your kids. It's not the cookie for your child that makes them smile
mhm.
and be happy. It's what makes you happy. What, right? And it's so important. And I agree. It's key for adrenal healing apps. And I think for sleep and everything, but in general, that is so key.
And my sons now say, like, there was a couple weeks ago, I take an extra class on Thursdays and it's kind of late. Like, it's later than I would like, but I go anyway. And I had a little bit of a stomach ache for some reason. And I didn't know, was I getting sick? Maybe I ate something funny. And my sons were like, why aren't you going to hip hop? And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm just, they're like, Mom, get in the car, go. Because they see the joy it brings me and how much more fun I am with them. And like, I love that because I kept thinking, you know, when they were younger, I kept thinking, well, I can't go take care of me because I've got to take care of them. And they're gonna miss mom. They're gonna wonder why mom's gone. Like mom's gone all day, now mom's going to hip hop class, whatever. But now they're like, Mom, why didn't you go to hip hop class? And when I come home, they want to see a video of it, you know, and they're like, why don't you post this to Instagram? And I'm like, all right, I will. Why not? You know, and I'll tell you, it's really brought not me only back to myself, but brought me into a connection with my kids. So I think it's great. And I think 10 minutes on the Peloton. Like, why do we have this expectation that it has to be 45?
Yeah,
Who
exactly.
said that?
Yeah.
I didn't. I literally was exhausted when I was taking hip hop and I did 3 hours in a row a few weeks ago and I was fine. And, I didn't start that way.
No.
Like, so why do we have this expectation that in order to lose weight or in order to be happy, we have to do 30 minutes or 45 minutes? Why can't we just do it because we enjoy it? And when we don't enjoy it anymore, when it becomes too, when it's really pushing our body, we don't enjoy it anymore. Get off the bike.
Yeah.
I mean, go home. I think, and I do think that comes from us with these expectations that are just all over the place and nobody knows what to do. We have to reconnect with that gut instinct and what you really love,
I agree. And I think sometimes, and I think that's where this whole social media thing has made it so hard, is really this take time to sit in quiet. And if that is going for, and like you don't necessarily have to sit, but even going for a walk in nature or just going to the beach and sit by a rock and watch the waves, like try to get into something that is slowing you down. And that can feel, I think, for some of us very uncomfortable. It's sometimes it's just this panic of I haven't done, like my body doesn't know how to deal with that situation. Sometimes I think it's I'm missing out on something. It's I have so much to do. I'm guilty of being lazy, blah, blah, blah. Like
that's all
literally,
cortisol, by the way. That's all
that's all
cortisol. Those are
cortisol.
all bears.
It's like
The bears are like, I'm coming. You better not go sit down by the beach. I'm over here.
yeah.
Oh, I'm going to miss out if I don't go. Because the bear's like, I'm having a party. Come
Yeah.
join me. Right?
And I'm
Like,
thinking a bit like the Winnie the Pooh. It's like, no, I brought you honey. Here it is, right? You stay there, eat that, and I'm gonna sit by the rock on the beach because I just need that. And it's it's just we just need it. We're not made for 40 to 60-hour work weeks, raising children, taking care of a household, taking care of our parents. We are just, as much as we want it or sometimes wanted, I just personally, I don't know what you think, I think it just doesn't work.
It doesn't. And there's a lot of things that you can do that bring enjoyment that also help stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So laughing, right? Laughing stimulates the vagus nerve, calms the body down. Humming, singing, right? So if you're sitting on the beach and you're finding, I always say, if you're in that moment, like you're saying, and you're finding a hard time relaxing, start humming while you sit there, right? Sing, right? Laugh. I played board games with my kids this weekend. It's so easy to go watch TV, but we just pulled out a board game and we laugh. Oh my gosh, we laughed so hard. I mean, my kids were hilarious. And just little things like that. They're still fun. And they're things that we used to do before we had social media. When we were bored, we were like, well, heck, let's go for a bike ride, or let's go to the park, or let's play a board game, or let's just call a really good friend on the phone and chat for a while and laugh. And, these things are really, really important. So if you find that you're losing them, put the phone in the drawer and write a list of 20 things you used to do before you had a cell phone, when you had nothing to do. And I bet you'll find a lot of those things bring a ton of joy, and they need to be brought back into your world.
I agree. And just do them, right? It's like when kids are bored, sometimes like, no, Henry, just let's go. We'll just do it. Let's do something and we're going to find joy in it. And you do.
You do. Yeah, and it has a physiological change on your body, and you may not realize it in that moment, but it does over when you put that habit in, it absolutely has a change. I am a completely different person than I was a year ago, 5 years ago, definitely 20 years ago, like in such a better way. It's some of the best of me from back then and this amazing stuff I'm developing now all coming together, just from really honing in on how I'm going to respond to external stressors, and supporting the internal. Yeah.
Great, great, great. Anything else in terms of adrenal fatigue that you would like to share?
We covered a lot.
We did. I know. It's just like, is there anything on your mind that pops up where you're like, oh my God?
No, I think for me, it's just, to your listeners to say, just live unapologetically you. Just be you and enjoy you and reconnect with you as if you're your best friend, and become your best friend if you're not. And when you start to do that, it will uncover everything else you need to do with your health. And it doesn't have to be complicated. And just start listening and being you. And that's my encouragement, is I hope all of you listen to this, go put your cell phone away for a while, go do something for you, and really reconnect with who you are. That's step one. We need to get there. We need to we're worth it. You're worth that investment.
Thank you. You also have a great gift that you want to share with the audience. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, I'm going to give you all one of my cookbooks for free. It is the Total Health Cookbook, and it has a bunch of recipes in there that are very nutrition focused. So they're delicious and they're fun and they're easy to make, but they give you the nutrients you need to help support stress in your body internally. So vitamin C, minerals, B vitamins, proportions of carbohydrates to fats to proteins, things that actually help your body produce energy, repair from stress, and taste good, because food should taste good. That's a joy right there, just enjoying. And what I would encourage all of you to do, and this is going to be something you're going to have to fight, is sit at the table with your family to eat it. No cell phones, no distractions, focus on each other, and take one bite at a time and eat it slowly. Mm-hmm. Just be in the moment, taste every single flavor, and have fun with food. Have fun cooking with your kids, have fun cooking with your family. Sit down and enjoy it together. This cookbook was created for that experience, for it to be more than just about shoving your face full of food in the car on your way somewhere.
Awesome. And we will drop the link for that below and in the show notes, so you can check that out.
Yes.
Thank you so much. This was a wonderful episode. I love your energy. I love you as the example of, we can heal from this. We don't have to live with that fatigue, with that exhaustion. And it's just been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for getting people sleeping. It just makes my job easier. It's great. Get asleep. But thank you so much for having me. And if any of you out there want to connect with me, say hello on social media to me. Like, just wave and say, hey, I heard you, just wanted to say hi, because I love to meet new people and connect with new people. So you can find all my handles at my website, drpingel.com, but definitely reach out and say hi. Okay. And if this was helpful, let me know, because I just want to spread the word that you have the power to completely change your health right now. So I'd love to know.
Awesome. Yes. And we'll also drop all your social links everywhere so people can find you. Go check that out. Her Instagram, her TikTok are super fun, just because you dance, right? Just do that. It's really entertaining. It's great. So everybody, thank you so much for listening and watching. And we hope you took a ton out of this episode. And then we're going to see you again shortly.